Holy shit. Whoa. Okay. Was not expecting a blowout like that. Was not expecting total domination from the Philadelphia Eagles. All signs in my head pointed to them not being 100% and coming in rusty and maybe not having their mojo. And the Giants have this momentum. You know, we played well down the stretch. We beat the Vikings in Minnesota. Shades of 2007. Hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. You think back to 2007, the Cowboys beat us twice in the regular season. We go into Dallas and we come out with a win by the skin of our teeth. Really thought there was going to be something similar to that. We would have played a lot more competitive, a lot closer, and maybe we sneak and steal a win. Did not think that we would just get absolutely steamrolled to the point where it's like, what are we guys doing all week? Like, what, you look at the first meeting in week 14, 48-22. We're missing Leonard Williams. We're missing Azeez Ojulari gets hurt. Adoree Jackson unavailable. Xavier McKinney unavailable. And we just got pumped big time right in the pooper. So then you fast forward to the last game of the regular season. Yeah, it didn't mean a whole lot. Eagles were playing for the number 1 seed. They played their starters. We didn't play our starters. We played in backups, and we only lose by 6. Looking back at that game now after seeing what happened and transpired on Saturday night, it's like, okay, the Eagles have the ability to actually dial things up and down. Like that's how much control they have as a roster and as a team, that they can play up and they can play down. They were literally, I forget who made this comment. Maybe it was Big Cat from Barstool, but it was like Saturday night was at one point the Eagles were playing with their food. I mean, you can't make a better metaphor or analogy than for what happened. And makes me think that regular season finale, they were just playing with their food. They knew they were going to win the game. They were just like, all right, well, when push comes to shove, we'll make a stand and we'll win the game. That's how little, we'll get to Nick Sirianni, but that's how little the Philadelphia organization thinks of the New York Giants. They have not, and Dallas as well. I think you can put them in the same boat. Neither of those organizations or franchises give a fuck about us. They think we're a joke. And the tides are turning. I think we have the right GM. We have the right coach. We have some bits and pieces of a decent roster, but the roster needs a lot of work. And the fact that we were able to get to the postseason and win a postseason game in the wild card against a 3 seed, a fairly decent team. Everyone's calling them frauds, but like they did win like 12, 13 games in the regular season. And a lot of that was from coming from behind and game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks. I get it. But you can see how if we had a different coach, we don't make the postseason. That's for sure. I mean, there's too many of these games came down to the wire, and it was like, if you have Joe Judge at the helm, we're probably 4-13 again. So, I don't want to spend too much time on the Eagles game, but I mean, there's not one stat or team stat that really is that looks good for us. I mean, they controlled the clock for 35 minutes, ran the ball 44 times for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, and maybe they listen to this pod because I've said it repeatedly that I'm surprised teams don't run more on us. And for all the wins that we have, if you look at it, a lot of those teams stopped running the ball for some reason. And it's like, why? We don't have a good rush defense. If you just run the ball and stick with the run, you're probably going to come out on top. And that's all Philly did. They just ran it right down our throats. I mean, that Eagles offensive line is, I don't know how they're not, if you're like, they're in my mind, they're the number 1 offensive line in the league. And that's what Jason Kelce's fat old ass. I mean, if he's on my team, I love him. He's not on my team, I loathe him. 35-year-old Jason Kelce literally throwing Justin Ellis across a football field. Justin Ellis is like 400 pounds, and Jason Kelce threw him with one arm. Landon Dickerson gets hurt. Doesn't matter. Lane Johnson has like a torn, shredded abdomen and groin. You could see him during the game trying to hold his insides together, and he shuts down Kayvon Thibodeau. Just shuts down that side of the defensive line. I mean, it's just like Kenneth Gainwell got 112 yards on 12 carries. I mean, if that doesn't signal, I mean, that's, and you know, they show the replays of every run of every rush. And it's just like, oh, well, they're just doubling Dexter Lawrence. Like, I mean, Dexter Lawrence is a beast. He's great, but like he has zero help. Leonard Williams is not playing up to his contract. When he's on the field, the Giants defense is better, correct. But when you're paying a guy 20 some odd $1 million a year, you need him to be a top 5 defensive lineman, and he's not. And you could say, and listen, I get it. You're not supposed to make excuses, but MCL sprain to start the year, neck injury towards the end of the year, both those things affect your play. So he wasn't 100%. I get it. If he's 100%, maybe it's a different ball game. And listen, you got to give him kudos and praise for the fact that he's able to get his ass on the field and play through it. Great. But that being said, not giving us the best bang for our buck. So I fucking hate that we let James Bradbury go. And I triple hate that he ends up with the Philadelphia Eagles of all teams on like such a team-friendly contract. I was looking at the 2022 dead cap, which was like $54 million. Logan Ryan, Blake Martinez. It was all our free agent signings from 2020. And let me tell you something. That combined with the 2016 free agent signings has convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that we should not try to make a big splash in free agency. So we'll take a look at the top free agents at every position, and I'm going to say basically no to all those guys. It's going to be like, I still think we should have found a way to hold on to James Bradbury. Logan Ryan's a different issue. I mean, it's kind of a bonkers contract extension. You know, when the contract extension for Logan Ryan was first announced in 2020, I was like, awesome. Seems like a good dude, has really helped the defense. And, you know, it's only 3 years, so it's not like a super long contract. But then you look at the AAV, approximate annual value, and it's like, holy fuck, we really were paying him like he was the number one safety. And he wasn't. I'd say he's above average, top 15, but overpaid. We overpaid for Leonard Williams. And that was something where Gettleman obviously wanted to justify the trade in a season that was lost. And Leonard came in and he had a pretty good 2020. All right, 2021, not so great 2022. I just honestly thought there's no way they're going to blow us out again. There's just no way it's going to be another 48-22. And in a lot of ways, this was almost worse because it was like, holy shit, we're like basically as close to 100% healthy as we can be. I mean, Azeez Ojulari is still hurt. They're rotating him in, but I think he played maybe 14 snaps, 20% of snaps or something like that. So he's obviously was a non-factor. Kayvon was a non-factor, though he was getting held like every other play. They're doubling up on Dexter. They're probably doubling up on Leonard Williams. And so when you're doubling on those two guys, there are these massive holes. And who do you need to plug those holes? Giggity. The fucking inside linebackers. You got to feel like their front four were doing what they were supposed to do for the most part. It's the interior linebackers that have to step up and make a play. And Jalen Smith is a wacky dude who has a lot of energy and it's misplaced completely, misdirected. There was one run they showed from behind the Giants defense. Huge hole opened up because they doubled down on Dexter Lawrence. Kayvon's like not a factor, pushed out. I don't even know if it was Kayvon. It might have been someone else, Jahad Ward. And so there's a big hole. Where's Jalen Smith? He's somehow directly behind Dexter Lawrence. Dude, Dexter Lawrence is taking on two people so that you can have a free shot at the running back. What are you doing? I don't even think I saw Jared Davis in on any plays during this entire game. Landon Collins gets 0 snaps, which is unfathomable to me that he gets 0 snaps. It's unfathomable to me that like Dane Belton gets 0 snaps in a game where you're getting your shit kicked in. 21-28 nothing. You got to mix it up defensively. You got to start doing something differently because what you're doing is not working. I'm so disappointed in what Wink Martindale came up with for this game. His scheme, his game plan was just like, what was your game plan? Where was the pressure? Where were the blitzes? I mean, there was one good defensive pressure. It was the Xavier McKinney strip sack, and we couldn't even recover the ball then. So, I mean, just the defense was the biggest disappointment. The offense is what it is. I mean, the Eagles have the best defense in the friggin' NFL. 70 sacks for a reason. I mean, you want to talk about guys that are top 5 at their position? Hargrave, Graham, Cox, Sweat, Reddick, and Ndamukong Suh is on the team. Like, what is happening? They are stacked defensively along that front. And then they have friggin' James Bradbury and Darius Slay, 2 of the best corners in the league. I wasn't expecting much of the offense, but I thought Kafka had enough tricks up his sleeve in his bag to give us something. I mean, it looked like he really didn't have a clue. Daniel Jones didn't look like he had a clue at all dropping back. But again, I don't know that he's seen that kind of pressure. Anytime he's gotten pressure, especially against Minnesota or in Indianapolis, a lot of these games in the second half of the season towards the last quarter of the season, he gets pressure. He's able to escape, find a running lane, and either scramble, pick up positive yards, or find someone down the field. This was very reminiscent of the first half of the season where like he's not even paying attention down the field. He's not finding any lanes to run. It's just collapsing on him and he has nowhere to go. I mean, what happened to the quick rhythm offense where it's like we're hitting guys as they're moving upfield, 3-step drop, get it out of your hands, get it in their hands and get them upfield. What happened to our screen game? Not that we have much of a screen game to speak of, but like what happened to throwing it more to Saquon? What happened? I mean, I understand that. Look, dude, I get it. Maybe a reminder is needed here. It's necessary. Richie James and Darius Slayton were our top 2 receivers statistically this year. They were number 5 and 6 on the depth chart, if that. Our number 1 receiver got benched for God knows what. Our number 2 receiver got traded. Our number 3 receiver went down with a season-ending injury in like week 3, week 2, maybe even week 1. Our number 4 receiver went down with an injury. So listen, our top 4 receivers went down with injuries. Same thing happened in 2017. We went 3 and fucking 13 or whatever it was, and Ben McAdoo was fired in year 2. So do we have the right coach? Yeah, we have the right coach. Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka were able to take a team missing its top 4 receivers completely, and they actually performed better as a unit, as a group, without those guys than they did with them. So yeah, I have felt good coming into this season about our wide receivers. I felt good about our run game, and I thought, if anything, that's the one area that the Eagles aren't super great at is their run defense. So maybe let's try and get creative with the run. Instead, I think we ran 20 times for 118 yards and touchdown, and 39 of those yards came on one run by Saquon Barkley. That was basically the one major highlight positive play from this game, was that Saquon Barkley run. And even that highlight came with a negative. I saw someone tweet that he topped out at 19.1 miles per hour, which is like the lowest that he's ever, like, rookie Saquon, 2018 Saquon scores, that's a touchdown. But, dude, he's suffered so many leg injuries and injuries over the course of the past 3 years that it's like that's what you're going to get from Saquon now. He's not going to be able to bust it and go to the house. And now I thought it was a sure thing that we were going to re-sign Saquon after the kind of year that he gave us and considering the production he gave us. And now it's kind of in limbo. We'll get to that. But just soft, all around soft. Like for as hype as the team was in practice and as hype as the fans were, we came out just soft on our heels. I mean, I don't understand with a such a talented offense that Philly has. And I get it. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, like their targets are threats, right? And you don't want to get beat deep on explosive plays. I get it. But this is not the time to play scared. You know, against Minnesota, I get it. 7 DBs, drop them back, you know, and they'll have to try and pick their spots underneath. You come up and make a play. All right, because they don't really have a running game. Okay, that might fly. Against the Eagles, to not play physical against them and to play as soft as we did, it was just embarrassing. Like that you could tell, even on that first big completion to Devontae Smith down the field, 40 yards. What the fuck is Julian Love doing covering Devontae Smith one-on-one? I mean, wide. Oh, like there's no one within 5-10 yards of Devontae Smith. That's inexcusable. Dallas Goedert touchdown. It looked like a pick, wasn't a pick. Xavier McKinney slips. Isaiah Hodgins, 3rd and short, 3rd and 4. He catches it for the first down, but bobbles it. Not a first down. DJ misses Darius Slayton on a streak down the left side. I mean, he beats Darius Slay, and if he catches it, it's a touchdown. He overthrows him. Daniel Jones hits Richie, like puts a ball that's catchable to Richie James, deep left. Richie James drops it. Would have been a touchdown. You know, it's so many plays where it's like literally a game of inches. And yeah, it's going to look like a blowout, and it felt like a blowout, but certainly the Giants had certain opportunities and they just let it slip through their fingers. You know, it's like we had 2nd and 1, something like that, and DJ runs out of bounds instead of throwing away, and now it's 3rd and 5. It's just like not making good decisions. The pick to James Bradbury, of all people, to throw. I mean, you know, he's just sitting on that and salivating, and of course he comes up and makes the play. The play, where was the play action? Where was getting the ball out of DJ's hands? It just seemed very uncreative. And it seemed like any plan that we had, it's like everyone has a plan to your punch in the mouth. We got punched in the mouth, and we were so dazed. It took us 3 quarters to regroup and actually put something together that looked like a football team, a playoff football team. The only play that I liked, to be honest, or that I loved that actually worked was the trick play, the touchdown. Saquon Barkley and the Wildcat, you motion out DJ and he hands it to Breida for the touchdown. That was like a thing of beauty. And we saw none of that for the rest of the game. I mean, I didn't lose too much hope or faith when we were down 28-0, because I was like, we're getting the ball in the second half. You score in your final drive of the first half. You get the ball back in the second half and you score again. It's a 2-score game. You're back in the ball game. And even when we're down 28-7, I thought we had some life. The defense started to make some stops. And then the drive at the end of the third quarter was probably the most disappointing, because you have the opportunity in your hands to take control back of the game, take control of the momentum. And you just let it slip through your hands. There's just no aggression. You know, it just felt like we were just getting pushed around, and I mean, it was dominated. I'll finish with this. I think Nick Sirianni is a dick, and I don't think that's hyperbole or an exaggeration. That guy's a doucher. I think even if he was like my coach, I'd be like, ugh, he leaves a weird taste in my mouth. Giggity. He trolled us with Boston Scott. Going up for 27-0 is disrespectful. Then trying to draw us off sides on the 2-point attempt for what? And he's all the way down near the goal line, and he's saying, I'm yelling at like the sideline staff and crew, saying I belong here. The guy's a dick. And I can't wait for next season, because this is the pinnacle for the Eagles and this team. They don't have a ton of cap space next year. Neither do the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are in trouble, and I think the Eagles are in trouble. The Cowboys this was their season to win the Super Bowl, and of course they lose to the Niners. If the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl this season, they're in for a world of hurt next season because the Giants are on the rise. Eagles are it's all downhill from here for the Eagles. And listen, that friggin' club has given me physical, mental, spiritual problems for a full decade. We have not won in Philly since 2013. And I have to hear about that from all my Eagles fan friends nonstop. Even the fact that we've won more Super Bowls recently, and like Eli Manning won those Super Bowls and was like MVP, and like they're like, yeah, but he sucked against us. And you've sucked against us. It's just like, yeah. There's just no arguing with them right now. And still, until we start beating them on a regular basis and turn the tides and turn the tables, they have the upper hand right now. And it's like, I have confidence in Shane and Dable to turn around. Although maybe we'll get into the draft history, not this episode, but the next episode, because there is some interesting draft statistics that I want to throw your way. So this is like a huge offseason.